Welcome to the VHIA Weekly Update number 6. I'm Stuart McCullough, I'm the CEO of VHIA. Starting this week with community health, we have had further discussions with the ASU with respect to their proposed counter-offer for the Social and Community Services Agreement. We've advised the ASU that the counter-proposal that they put was not accepted and that we have also tested further alternatives without success. But we have also advised ASU that the original VHIA counter-proposal is still acceptable to some members. We'll be having further discussions with members and the ASU with regards to the non-wage items in coming days. With respect to the Health and Allied Services employees, that agreement expired more than 12 months ago. We've had discussions with the HWU who have indicated they'll provide us a more direct or succinct log of claims with respect to that agreement within the coming weeks. And we've also had beginning discussions with VHIA. As we understand it, the Allied Health Professionals Union has logged 3 members. We are currently in the process of putting together a table that sets out which of those provisions are common provisions and which ones are unique to individual community health employers. Coming up for community health members, we have our first monthly meeting on the 15th of this month. That meeting will occur then on the 3rd Wednesday of every month. It'll be a great opportunity for us to provide you with a current update with regards to enterprise agreements and for members to share their thoughts and insights. One of the things we'll be discussing at that first meeting is the format for those meetings and what kind of technologies we'll utilise in order to support accessibility, such as GoToMeeting or similar. With respect to our Division 1, 2 and 3 members, that is the health services, the Medical Scientists Agreement is in the drafting process. That is, we have reached agreement in principle. You will have received a bulletin from us to that effect. The process for drafting is reasonably advanced, but once the parties have concluded that drafting process, that agreement will then be reformatted in order to ensure that it is consistent with the formats that we have used in other agreements. The purpose of the reformatting is to make sure that people can better find the terms and conditions that they're looking for in more predictable places. With respect to the Allied Health Professionals, that agreement remains lodged with the Fair Work Commission and we are still awaiting hearing date. We did have discussions with VHIA with regards to Allied Health Professionals who had raised 2 issues for our consideration, one concerning public holidays and the effect of the National Employment Standards, the right to not work on a designated public holiday and still receive your ordinary pay, and also with respect to CPD under the expired 2011 agreement as varied. We have provided correspondence to VHIA on both those points and invited them to engage with us in further discussions. We'll provide further updates on that matter to members as those discussions progress. The implementation guide for that agreement has been completed and is now available to members from the VHIA website. With respect to health and allied services and managers and administrative workers, that implementation guide will be finalised shortly. We're just ensuring that the HWU have an opportunity to provide us with their feedback before we conclude that and make that available. There is a reference group meeting on the 9th of February with regards to that agreement. There is a federal court decision that members should be aware of. The name of the decision is Poland and Goulburn Valley Health, which concerns work being conducted from home. That decision has just come down and we are in the process of reviewing that decision and will provide members with a précis before too long. With respect to the mental health agreement, that agreement is currently out for ballot. And regarding the nurses agreement, the reference group for that agreement will convene on the 21st of February. That meeting will discuss the implementation issues that have been identified through meetings with HR and IR managers. There is also another federal court decision that members should be aware of. It's the decision of ANMF and the Royal Children's Hospital. That decision concerns the recognition of experience, particularly the recognition of experience for nurses who have worked interstate. So people should review that decision and ensure that their practice for recognising experience is consistent with it. It is something that matches with the new enterprise agreement. Shortly we'll be providing information to members with regards to our upcoming regional forums. These are something that we intend to conduct in about March and September of each year, visiting a different place in each region on each occasion. But there'll be some dates for late March. The purpose of those regional forums will be really to discuss face-to-face some of the key implementation issues in greater detail, but also we'll be providing members with an opportunity to identify subjects they would like to discuss with us and really to set the agenda. Members can receive up-to-the-minute updates in terms of VHIA's activities through the VHIA Community app, which is now available for download for both Apple and for Android. Not joining me this week because he couldn't tell a difference between a toy soldier and a ninja is Tim Nagel. Instead, I'm joined by VHIA's online and digital marketing coordinator, Susanna Richardson. Welcome, Susanna.
Thank you, Stuart.
Now, I'm mindful that your role at VHIA is a new role, so perhaps you could outline to members a little bit about your background and the kind of work that you've done.
So in previous lines of work, I've specialised in event management and also in member engagement for non-profit organisations. So my current role here at VHIA means that I'm in charge of media and communications, in particular our member engagement through the various channels that we have now.
Terrific. Well, I guess all that remains for us to do is to move on to today's subject matter. Would you like to reveal the contents of our subject matter box?
Do I have the privilege of...
You have the privilege. So for those people who are listening to us on a podcast, could you describe what was inside the box?
I see an apple that's been sliced in half.
So half an apple, that would make it an app. So today's subject is the VHIA Community app. For those people who have heard a little bit about it, they'll be anxious to hear about how they can utilise its various features. But before we get to that, could you describe to those members who haven't heard about the Community app what it is and what it does?
So we've been working on a new app called VHIA Community since last November, and we are seeing it as a vehicle to help improve communications and in particular increase clarity and immediacy and simplicity with the way we'd like to deliver news and updates to our members of VHIA.
So effectively it's a platform for communication, that's correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So in terms of the VHIA Community app, how do members access it? What are the options for using that platform?
So we have various options that allow the accessibility to members who are on the move as well as those who work from their desk. So the app can be accessed on people's smartphones by downloading the app from either the Apple iTunes Store or the Android's App Store as well. And we also have the app that's available through the browser as well on your computer desktop.
So in terms of if I download it from the Apple Store, how much will that app cost?
It is a free app, so it will not cost you anything.
But in terms of it being a free app, does that mean that anybody can use it?
No, that's not right. It is exclusive only to members. So those members who have their details and their emails registered in our database will receive an invitation and have an account that exists currently with our new app. But anyone who is not in our system won't have any access to this app.
Okay, so there are effectively two components. You can download the app for free and anyone can do that, but to actually get into the app, you need to be on our database and have that invitation.
Yes, that's correct.
So that'll mean that when there are changes at a staffing level within a health service or a community health service and UHR people come in, it'll be more important than ever that people are updated and put onto our system so that they can access that app.
That's right. So we're encouraging members, if they transition out of their roles or there's a new person incoming, to make sure that they keep VHIA updated. Send us an email to let them know that their email won't be active anymore. That way we can deactivate their membership in our system and update our access to the app as well.
So to ensure that access is open to the right people, we need members to let us know about new people coming in and people leaving their organisation.
That's right.
And in terms of the app and the kind of information that's posted there, we've been utilising it here in the office for a couple of months now. Could you describe to members the kind of information they might expect to see on the VHIA Community app?
So unlike our email bulletins, we try to keep our posts and updates on the app very brief and straight to the point. They're also a lot more immediate than our bulletins. So if we happen to have a meeting where EBA negotiations take place, our IR consultants and team members will be posting on the app some update about the negotiations that have just happened. They may even, write updates about what the agenda is before meeting and action list post-meeting, as well as any other details about just public holidays, any sort of communication with unions and so forth.
So that sounds quite a bit like Facebook. Is it a Facebook kind of interface?
It is a similar interface, but I would say it's a lot more sophisticated than Facebook, because we recognise that not all members and people have Facebook accounts and profiles, and there are a lot of other complications that come with creating an account specifically to access this kind of information. It gets messy with people's personal network as well, intervening in with their professional network. So with the VHIA app, it is just an app just for members, and it is specifically used for communication relating to the VHIA community.
So more sophisticated than Facebook. Take that, Mark Zuckerberg. In terms of the last year or so, we've had 5 different agreements that have been renegotiated, and a feature of those is that a lot of the activities, a lot of the work occurs out of hours, and sometimes the outcomes are not reached until late at night. It's pretty easy to see that the VHIA Community app will be a useful tool for the IR practitioners here, that if an outcome is reached at 10 o'clock at night, the app will give us the ability to send out a message on the app from our phones, and members will get the information directly from us first, rather than having to find out through unions. So I think it's going to be an extremely good improvement in terms of being able to give people real-time updates. You mentioned meetings before, so I think the way in which it might be used for meetings is that it will enable us to let people know what it is we're doing, when we're doing it, and people will know how they can participate. So if we're having a meeting for a reference group for a particular EBA, you gave that example of posting an agenda. People can see the agenda, make comments on it, and give their input into those issues, as well as get an update as to the outcome. So this will fundamentally change the way in which we send information both out and receive information in from members. So if I'm logging on for the first time onto the app, what kind of things should I be doing?
So if you're a new user, I would actually recommend our members to go have a look at the groups that we've set up. We've set up more than a dozen groups specifically related to each EBA that that we negotiate or that we specialise in. So by subscribing to these groups or joining these groups, you basically make a decision about what kind of information you want to receive from VHIA.
So to take an example then, if one of the groups is the Nurses and Midwives group, which means that is about the information relevant to the Nurses and Midwives Enterprise Agreement, if I was responsible at my health service just for that agreement, I could select only that group and I would receive just that feed?
Yes, that's correct. So you wouldn't be wasting as much of your time reading communication about health and allied services if that's not what you're interested in.
Okay, so members will have an opportunity effectively to determine which feeds they receive, which information that they get. In terms of member profiles, is that something also that members, when they log in for the first time, should be mindful of?
Yes, I do encourage each member to put some time into updating their profile with their, what organisation they come from, their contact details, because this is, the VHIA community is about participation and about being able to find other members as well and locate them, connect with them. So that's an important part of updating your profile relating to community.
I think just as a hot tip, something that I've managed to determine for myself, there's a lot of value in finding an old profile picture. I think the one I've utilised for my profile is from when I was about 14. But would recommend members do the same. In terms of the groups, there are the public groups and there's also the potential for private groups.
Yes, so we have had some expression of interest from some members who might be on a board or particular meeting, and they've expressed the interest in private groups, which we have the potential and the capability to create as well. So this would be exclusive to by invitation only, and not all users could join it.
So the practical example for the use of private groups might be if we have an EBA reference group, and as part of that reference group we want to provide draft clauses from an enterprise agreement, we could utilise the app to let everybody know, let everybody share their comments with regards to draft clauses in a secure environment.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Are there any other things with regards to the app that people should be mindful of as they begin to use it?
It does have the capability to make comments and for members and users to post themselves. I would be mindful of the fact that it is, not a public forum, but it is information that's out there for our members. So do write your posts as if people will be reading it.
So no trolling?
Yes, no trolling.
I think that is good advice, that the way that those things should be written is as though, even though it is a private sort of page, that it should be written as though the people you're writing about can read it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so just in terms of that app, people are able to go and get that and download that right now?
Yes, they can on your smartphones, and we will be sending out an email as well with a link that will lead them to a website link.
And if people have experience any technical difficulties with regards to that?
They can shoot us an email at vhia@vhia.com.au, and we can get it resolved as soon as possible.
Okay, so it's one thing to talk about a community app at length. It's probably a better thing to actually have a look at some of the features. Susanna, would you be good enough to just explain some of the features of the app?
Yes, so I can just reach out and show some of our members now on screen. For those of our members who are actually listening to this as an audio, I will try to describe in detail what I'm doing. So what I've opened up on my screen at the moment is actually the homepage of the app in my browser.
So I can see that Tim, who has been unable to join us today, is in fact joining us through the community app there.
Yes, he's here with us in spirit and on my news feed right here.
And for those people who heard the industrial update earlier in this weekly broadcast, they'll see there that Tim has provided a link to one of the decisions that I've referred to.
Yes, so Tim as a user has been able to make some posts here, and we also have the capability to make comments as well. So if there are members who read this and have specific questions about that link, they can make a comment, and Tim or any other IR consultants can respond.
Terrific.
Yes, so this feed here is actually designed by me in a sense that it only features news from groups that I subscribe to, groups and individuals. So I am following you here, Stuart, and we can see one of your most recent posts, and the same goes for any particular groups that I've joined and things that have been posted in that group.
So Susanna, we talked before about members being able to select which groups, which determines what feed they receive. But you also made reference to following a particular person. That's also one of the options under the app?
Yes, so if you're particularly interested in the things that an individual posts, you can go to the member directory, which if you see this side panel to the left, it is the very bottom icon here. By clicking on that, you will end up in the member directory, and you can search for individuals by name or type in anything that might feature in their profile, such as their organization. So by locating their profile, you should then be able to open their profile and follow them.
Okay, so if you wanted to follow a particular person, you can do that, but not just a VHIA staff member. If there is a particular member whose posts you value and you wanted to follow any posts that they made, you could do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So just to give you an example of a profile, I will open up Tim's profile.
So Tim has also chosen a much younger photo, I can see.
Yes, here we go. So these are all the posts that Tim has made recently. And we have the option, if we scroll up, to actually direct message him or follow him over here. So I'm already following Tim, but if I wasn't, that icon would be yellow and it would have a little plus sign.
So for a long period of time, members have really spoken to each other about answers to questions and consulted with each other about difficult industrial issues. This app will provide a forum in which to do that in a more complete sense.
Yes, it can be done in more than one way. It could be made by actually writing a post that would be public in a group for which the members would be interested in that kind of post, or you could do it more privately through messaging. So messaging would allow me to click here and I could message Tim and type a message directly to him, or I could just go to a specific group. So again, in this side panel here, we've got groups. If I open up the group, you'll see that we have various groups here, all related specifically to different EBAs. If I click, say, on nurses and midwives, and I would like to write a post that's relevant to the people in this group, I could then write here in this post field something, hello, and then post here.
That's probably not one of our better posts, probably less informative than some of the others, I guess. But as an example, it's as simple as that. It's simply about typing in the field and pushing a button and it's posted.
That's right, and you can include links as well to specific documents or sites, or even include links to images. These are all things that you can type in your post.
Susanna, are there any other things that members should be aware of as they begin to utilise this technology?
There are two things that I would like to mention. So one thing here is I'd like to point to members, there's a settings panel in the corner here where I'm waving my cursor, so it's in the top right hand corner. By clicking on that icon, it's like a little, not circular symbol, but it's like a turning rod or something. I can go to preferences. So by selecting preferences, I can actually select whether I want a daily, weekly, or monthly summary of all of the posts and the individuals that I subscribe to email to me. So for those who are not particularly accustomed to using any kind of social media or apps, they might prefer to receive their news as a weekly summary by email. That might prompt them to log into the app, or at least just remind them of what's going on, even if they're not in the habit of checking it daily.
Okay, terrific.
So that's one. And of the two other things, the second thing that I would like to mention is specifically being able to activate your profile. So for some members, when we've launched our app, they did experience some issues logging into their activating their profiles. So I'm just going to run through just a detailed direction so that would help. So we will send a link to the home login page by email to our members, and by clicking on that link, it should bring you to this page here.
So this is the home page, effectively.
Yes, this is a login homepage. So it will have a field for email and password and a login button. But what I want members to actually pay attention to here is the forgot password link. So by clicking on that, you should be able to enter in your email, and then once you've entered your email, reset the password. So by clicking the reset the password, you will receive an email that's sent to the email that's registered with VHIA, and that will allow you to then click on a link that's in the email and then create your new password. So you'll be able to use that password along with your registered email to then log into the app.
And if, like me, you have lots and lots of passwords and frequently forget them, is there a prompt if you've forgotten your password?
Yes, it would be the same process.
Terrific. Okay, so people will be receiving that email and they'll be taken to the login page. They can save, is it the login page that they save as a bookmark?
Yes, I would recommend bookmarking the login page so that you're in the habit of logging in without having to, you could click remember password as well in your settings, and that might help you in case you forgot your password.
Okay, terrific. Is there anything else with regards to the app that people should be aware of?
Not Not that I can think of. We will be sending out information about the app, and in the email there'll be a short guide and introduction as well, with a little bit more detail on how to set up your profile and navigate the app as well. I will also mention actually that we encourage members to download the app on their phones, because although you can log in through your browser, you might feel like you'd like access to updates when you're mobile, so on the road.
Well, particularly when so many members are responsible for providing advice across different sites.
Yes, and it adds to that immediacy of being able to access the updates and information if you just happen to be going into a meeting and you need to access the agenda for that meeting, being able to do it on your phone without having to run back to your desk.
Okay, well thank you so much for explaining that in much greater detail. It is going to be a great step forward in terms of the way in which we both send information out in a much more direct and real-time fashion, as well as receive information from members and interact with members. It's going to be a significant step forward both in terms of communication and engagement.
Yes.
All right, well thank you very much, Susanna Richardson, for joining me today, and thank you for developing this fantastic community app.
Thank you for having me, Stuart.
Thank you. Ta.